In recent weeks, I've been talking to a lot of people about new technologies and specifically about artificial intelligence. What I've realized is that this topic is still very little understood, and that is actually because it's pretty complex. And there is a history of artificial intelligence or technology in general that brings us to where we are today. And I think it's useful to understand a few of these concepts and unpack them a bit more. So I'm going to start with this video a mini series about artificial intelligence, about its applications in aviation, and where it could bring us. So first, a little bit of history. Computers started evolving in the 1800s, believe it or not, with mechanical machines, and since then we started programming really how computers should do tasks, and so taking an input, arriving to an output, exactly step by step how that needs to be done. In more recent years, around the 1900s, we've started knowing software, or we started doing software as we know it today. Still, telling the machine what to do step by step to get to our outcome. It was only later in the late 1900s that and beginning of 2000s that we started looking at artificial intelligence and trying to mimic how humans learn and think with machine learning. Machine learning was a way of mimicking the human interactions, and very powerful way, very innovative, however limited. To make a machine learning system work well, you had to have a lot of data which had its features very well defined. So you would have to have data where the features that are important for the algorithm to make the decision were explicitly told to the algorithm. Take an example of a car. You would show a picture to the algorithm of a car and say this is a car and its color is red. And you had to have thousands and thousands of this to then train the algorithm so that when you ask the question, what kind of vehicle is this and what color it is, it will be able to answer. It's a car and it's red. Now, fast forward to a bit later. The latest chapter in these adventures is neural networks and deep learning. And that is what we are seeing exploding today since, I would say, the second half of 2022. Deep learning automates the task of extracting the features from the data. It can take multiple inputs, a lot of data, and then create internal layers in its algorithm to then sort through this data and attach the features to what it's seeing. The important thing to understand is that neural networks and deep learning technologies mimic the human thinking a lot better than earlier machine learning, and giving a lot more data, they can figure out complex patterns and eventually output a prediction. As I said, they work in layers. So if we think about image recognition, for example, we can think that one layer starts to recognize the lines in the pictures, and then another layer recognizes from these lines shapes and patterns, and so on, deeper and deeper, until saying this picture is a car. If we think about this in aviation, we can consider an algorithm starting to understand in the first layer flight data, maybe from the various sensors, and then one layer deeper looking at surrounding traffic, and then one level deeper maybe looking at conflict management, and then coming up with a prediction of conflict and perhaps even a resolution of that conflict. So this, in a nutshell, is an explanation of how we got to today, how we got to this mainstream artificial intelligence boom, from the 1800s mechanical computers to software as we know it, in the 1900s, the late 1900s, and then in the 2000s, the advent of machine learning, and later deep learning and neural networks. One thing I want to stress, and I cannot stress enough, if we look in aviation today, we don't have artificial intelligence applied on aircraft, flying on passenger aircraft. Even the most sophisticated autopilots, I've recently done a piece with Garmin about their Autoland system, which can take an aircraft from a cruise situation with a pilot incapacitated all the way down to stopping on the runway safely. Even this system, which I consider one of the most advanced autopilot systems, doesn't use artificial intelligence. It is still programmed very traditionally with deterministic systems that if something happens, then they do something. So when you look again next time and evaluate artificial intelligence in aviation, try to detach yourself from what you know and what you see in current avionics, in current aircraft capabilities. In the next episode, I'm going to unpack all of this into little chunks. So make sure you don't miss the next episodes. If there's something which is unclear from this one, please ask in the comments. I'm going to include a lot of questions that I got directly in the coming episodes. So if there is anything that really bothers you about artificial intelligence or you don't understand, please mention it in the comments and follow me for more. Thank you for your support.